It's going to be played till 100 points on the randomized map order. The points repartition is 10-7-5-3, so that's something to note. But everything else should be, let's just say, up to usual. So the top 2 players will be moving on forwards to the brackets. The bottom 2 will be eliminated. However, all the players who manage to survive the qualifier will receive at least 1 match point. Fast point points for the full circuit for the EMEA points. So this is each region has their own dedicated leaderboard. So if you are either from APAC or Americas, then you have their own dedicated leaderboard. Which, believe me, that's the leaderboard where you want to be on the top as well. And I definitely think the sweatiest one will be from the for the EMEA one, but we'll see. So I would just say Louis. So Louis definitely is the massive underdog here, having to face off against 3 very experienced players from the Trackmania European scene especially. Heave, who also had a solid performance in the Raider Cup as well, has known a bit of controversies here and there, but also known with his skill as well. And the other one is Loso or Final Goodbye in game, who is let's just say, one of the more experienced players, with of course Aima Jr. or aka Ratchet, who also qualified himself for the TMGLC as we're going live on the first round.
Live on the first round. Nice start from all the players until I start speaking, and we see crashes happening from Ratchet and Heave, so we're left with a 1v1 between Loso and Laius Schildwacht. But Laius Schildwacht in the lead. I mean, he is the underdog right here, so it would be very beneficial for him to pick up the first 10 points of the match if he's able to hold on to this lead. Very closely, you can see Loso trying to catch up. Ooh, steers in a bit too early. And Laius Schildwacht all in his own. Does he realize it? Is he aware of this massive lead that he has right now? Full 2 seconds right now ahead. So I think he'll be okay. I think he will be fine the way things are going. We do see Ratchet in hot pursuit. Loso and Heave both quite a ways behind. And there we go. Laius Schildwacht picking up his first 10 points. Got Ratchet coming in on number 2 with 7 points. Loso with the D and F, and Heave having 10 seconds remaining to finish, and I mean, you know, he's pretty much there. He'll make it, and he does. 5 points going to him, so no points so far for Loso. Bad start for him, but still plenty of rounds for him to
But yeah, what a start for Louis, like the underdog, getting the first dub in the first round. We already thought, he's gonna be the bottom one, but look at this, the full leaderboard is basically inverted. But yeah, coming up on the next round, definitely Imot? Okay, it's not Imot, it's Ratchet. Imot is actually playing. Imot himself is actually qualified, and he's in a match that currently is happening off stream. So Imot and Imot Jr. are both in the same events, but yeah, Imot Jr. is Ratchet in the end. Ratchet known for a lot of like name switching, as we actually have a pretty solid round so far. Ratchet quite far ahead. Unfortunate line from Louis went a bit too outside, had to oversteer a bit, managed to maintain himself, but it was enough for the other players to bit forth as Imot clipped aside with the wheel, put himself at the bottom of the scene. Now it's a 1v1 between Heave and Loso for those top 10 pointers for the top. Heave has way more exit speed coming out the end. The line was a bit better, and the bonk in the side was not enough to overtake Loso in the end, as Loso actually gets the dub in this round. But actually a bit unfortunate for Louis, as he had a small crash in the end that allowed Ratchet to overtake him in the very last moments of the map.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate, like turning himself around and not crossing the finish line. It's definitely, it sucks, you know, that's 2 points. You can have extra that could matter towards the end. Still in the lead, but a very diverse field right now, right? 13, 12, 12, 10 is the point distribution at the moment. So anyone's game just yet, and I mean, the previous round really gave us a showing of how consistent these players can be driving. I'd say the first round in that sense was more of a fluke, if you will. Right now, 3 players hanging out side by side. We got Loso just hanging out from the back. Laius Schildwacht, having a little bit of a clip happen right there, losing a lot of speed. So we're left with Ratchet and Heave at the moment, side by side, fighting it out as we get quite close to the end of the track, and still neither of them really giving away an inch. No one crashing. It's going to be a photo finish to the finish line. Heave picking up the 10 points with Ratchet. Emot Jr. 400ths of a second behind him. I mean, that's pretty much the same difference in times during the previous round, except in that situation, it was Final Goodbye picking up the 10 points. So this time around, only 5 going to him, and Laius Schildwacht not able to keep that momentum that he started off the match with, picking up 3 points.
Yeah, it seems like Heave is
Great round though.
Yeah, Heave is the person who now starts to cash in with all those mistakes from the others. As Louis, despite having that insane opener of the match, taking that, let's just say, cashing in on the mistakes from others, getting that 10-pointer, is starting to make a lot of mistakes on his own. Now he's a bit falling back. He can, on paper, he can be really close in terms of pace. Definitely is the player who can cash in on others' mistakes. But seems like he is definitely cashing in on another skill issue, if you can say like that. And now goes into leads as having a solid round from all the 4 players so far, despite even a Ratchet and Loso having a bit slower approaches so far. Our Ratchet is slowly cashing and trying to risk for those middle lines. He went a bit outside, trying to save approach a bit. However, Ratchet's still very close with the approach. Got a small wiggle from the side. Ratchet going for a wider line. He with the small oversteer at the end. Ratchet gets tiny bit more speed, but should be locked in with a solid 1, 2, 3, 4 at the ending of the round.
He's really holding down that first place there. I mean, it's very much once these players get going, you can tell that any tiny error, any tiny mistake, right, slight oversteer is just gonna lose that first place potential. And I mean, Heave right there, just able to lock it down, keeping it tight, and ends up going out on the first round, first map with 32 points at the top. So, you know, not the best start, right, with some crashes here and there, but recovering just fine on the second, third, and fourth round around the map. Looks like our next track is going to be Wisteria.
Yeah, and that's a map that was definitely one of the, how can I say, it's from one of the, that has this linear ones in its structure. Was the one of the ones that can definitely pop out a lot of mistakes. Is it's very transitional heavy, as there's a lot of places where you have the micro air times where you just can get a bit more airtime than usual, and just don't have that grip for that, I don't know, couple of tenths of a second, for example, also just going there as well, as in that minor, so you have to like preset the car way before like the section starts with just minor corrections, and that can lead to a lot of inconsistencies coming in the rounds. I'm actually pace-wise kinda honestly expected a bit faster times, especially based off the first map. The times were very solid actually, around like 0.4, 0.5 pace, but honestly a bit expected faster. I've kinda had the same idea in the head that European players are especially like way above, but actually they were very mimicking the pace that Krizo and Winky Face were doing in the APAC one.
Right.
Where actually Winky Face had a 0.3 on the first map, so he was still a bit above the first top pace of these players right here. As we're actually going on the first round on Wisteria by Manox and Kyle, who are both Brazilian mappers so far. It looks like Loso with an unfortunate start, had a small clip early on. Seems like Louis, Heave, and Ratchet are still in the fight. We're going for the small grip from the side, but seems like a very tight fight for those top 10 pointers. Or there's either it's 10 or 7 between Ratchet and Heave so far, as the 1v1 is going forwards. I would say Ratchet using the Riolu car, but let's just not go in that direction. But yeah, very solid round currently, both from Heave and Ratchet. Heave trying for that inside lane, but Louis is also not that far behind. It looks like Ratchet actually takes the dub with the 42-4, and Heave as well with the very right behind them with the 42-5. Very solid times all around, but Ratchet is the person who does come out up and starts to reduce the gap between him and Heave in this match.
Yeah, just 3 points between the two. First place from Ratchet would be enough to tie it up, and even overtake Heave if Heave manages to get a worse time. Also again with a bit of a bad start, trailing behind, not having a good time so far on this track. Laius Kultoft still playing from behind. It does look like Heave and Ratchet just have a stronger opening at the moment, allowing them to basically drive side by side and really fight for that first place, with Ratchet right now taking the charge and starting to get away from Heave. Let's see if he's able to do so, as Heave actually clips on the block right there, allowing Loso and Laius Kultoft to come in, and with Loso actually overtaking Laius Kultoft. I thought he was going to be able to get a number 2 spot, but Loso coming in clutch, picking up 7 points of his own, and Ratchet picks up 10, and with that takes first place away from Heave.
Yeah, and solid time from him as well, as he actually got a 0.1, which I believe is like
0.1, yeah,
is 0.2 from world record. World record on this map is a 41.9. So a solid pace right here, especially on a map that has the straightforward execution needed throughout the map. So trying to optimize it, reduce those oversteers, and let's just say reduce the travel distance, so it just makes those micro time saves add up during the match. Definitely trying to get use of that. Maybe if it's a so-called pointless risk, because other players had a lot of mistakes. However, this time we have a solid round together between the 3 players. Also, Louis as well being up there in the mix. Ratchet currently is leading the field, but Loso is very close. Bit unfortunate exit speed from Louis allows Loso to overtake, but again a solid round overall, but Ratchet still starts to come out on top.
Ratchet I mean, he's really starting to rake in these points and started to get away from Heave right now, right? 45 for Heave, Ratchet on 56. Something I've been noticing though is, I mean, Loso is very much taking advantage of that final turn, and Laius Skillsoft seems to be a bit more conservative when it comes to that turn, perhaps just due to the way he's been landing, or just because he might not be as confident in that turn as the other players are, but you can really see players overtake him at that point, because throughout the rest of the track, everybody's doing a fantastic job, and it's really that final turn that's been causing some issues. You see Laius Skillsoft disappearing out into the sunset, and we're left with Ratchet and Heave at the moment at the top of the leaderboards, and Heave really starting to gain on Ratchet. Great attack, but it's going to be enough in the end. No, barely not. Ratchet coming in through the final turn, having a bit more exit speed and bouncing a bit earlier into the finish, so another 10-point goes this way. Heave not able to make up the difference just yet.
Yeah, but it was really close from his execution. Like, those are solid times. 0.3s are really good round times on this. Like, they were very solid. That was the last round on Wisteria, and now we're gonna be going to Kosten. I'm actually expecting a lot of really sick rounds on this, as the map is the simplest from the map pack. However, usually from simplicity, it's very heavy on those micro adjustments, micro time saves. How long do you... What's your travel distance? How much do you oversteer? Like, you have to risk everything on a map like this. And sometimes, like, since you need to, like, optimize and get those... You have to go as closer to the wall, have to, like, get that momentum going throughout the map. Like, can pop up more and more mistakes. So we might see some mistakes here and there just because they're trying to risk so much in certain moments. But at the same time, they'll try to go for all these optimal lines and like all the strats just to use all the space that they have been given to just rack up all the speed that they have, as Ratchet is giving a good example of that. Also, there's an interesting technique on the sand part where we're currently watching Ratchet. If you land on the bounce before the hills, you get an interesting low jump, which allows you to gain way more momentum that lands with the nose down. And it's the most optimal strat to do for that specific part, because it allows you to carry way more momentum in the end. Plus, it allows you to just snipe by the checkpoint if you have the best tech drift at the end.
I'm very curious to see if, I mean, so far Ratchet was doing a fine job at that. I mean, I do think, as you say, right, it's turns that might seem simple, but simply due to the fact that this is a track that rewards that consistency because of its openness. We're gonna have some close times, and at the same time, you know, like some more photo finishes as we had during the previous track. Right now, though, Loso very much feeling a lot better than he has been throughout the previous tracks, but everybody very close together, right? Just a 1/10 of a second separating the four as we get to the final jump. Loso still in the lead. Ratchet gets a bit more speed out of the jump, but is it going to be enough to overtake? No, doesn't look like that, as Loso drives a 45.8. Solid time to kick things off, but I wouldn't be surprised if we will see some higher pace coming in through the next rounds.
I mean, this already is solid pace. I think this was...
It's solid pace, yeah. It's... But I can imagine people wanting, you know, to push each other, right? Feel the pressure of, you know, wanting to perform even more. I mean, right now, Ratchet, 73 points, really got away from everyone during the previous track, and Heave and Loso are fighting to get that second spot in. Laius Skillsoft, unfortunately, 40 points, and he's going to have to really make something happen if he wants to stay in contention for second place.
Yeah, but close rounds as expected. So we'll see how always there's a small mistake from Heave. This is the thing that I said, is like you have to push like crazy on a map like this, and that mistake popped up in just in that turn. As it's very hard, a bit of an awkward drift, I would say. It's actually coming out that part. Bit too big of an oversteer coming from Louis, doesn't manage to rack up as much exit speed as others. And seems like Ratchet will be running away with another plus 10 point and putting himself a bit closer to that finalist range due to that. But actually now, Loso is starting to like really fight with He for that second place just to potentially rival out. However, Louis is also not that far away. When we're getting closer to finalists, I can actually see Louis potentially also sniping some additional points and maybe even climbing himself also to the semifinals due to that.
Yeah, I don't think it's definitely, I mean, due to the way the points are set up as well and the how close these players have been, it's definitely a little bit of, you know, like luck and a bit of confidence in your lines, and I wouldn't be surprised if somehow these rankings would turn each other around. I mean, right now it does feel like Ratchet has been the most consistent so far. As we see, he once again crashing in the same spot. Very unfortunate, as well as the rest of the players start making their way forward. Ratchet still in the lead, also second place. You do see Louis, unfortunately, just not quite having the pace, hitting the checkpoint, flipping his way out. An awful respawn. Maybe he will be in position to overtake, but he's just a bit too far behind to really take advantage of that mistake. But we do see Ratchet once again coming in first place with a 45.7, 10 points going his way, and he just needs at least 7 points to get into finalist mode.
Yeah, getting very, very close to that, and actually very good times from Ratchet. Like I said, one of the goals of these tournaments is to like give that more rounds opportunity for other players, and despite him being definitely the most experienced in the field, other players are... Okay, yeah, of course, I wanted to praise Louis for stepping up a bit.
I know. I saw.
And
go on.
Yeah, and basically to like have this like opportunity, like to like give this chance to compete, because usually playing in cup mode is like only with the premier events. So having like this kind of monthly basis at least, to have this chance to at least try himself out. So we still have a solid duel for the top two for that 10-pointer right now. Actually, Ratchet was he needed a top two to enter finalist, but instead it's gonna be Loso cashing in those plus 10 points. And due to that, will deny Ratchet on entering finals. As well, he will start to increase lead over Heave, despite being only just 400s above him. Will still give that plus 3 advantage over him on potentially when closing in on the finalist mode, as he's only 24 points away.
Still definitely, you know, hard to fight for that first place, because I mean, whatever happens right now, Ratchet's gonna be in finalist mode, right? He just needs to finish once. He's gonna be finalist mode from that point on. Definitely a situation of just stopping him from getting into first place, which not gonna be easy. I mean, so far he's been driving, I mean, first places. I think he had what, 7, 8 first places so far. I want to say 7, which says a lot over the course of 12 rounds. That's some good point making right there. Back on Euphoria as well. And so far, I mean, everybody's been doing great on all 3 maps. I don't really get the idea that any of these tracks per se is like their favorite. I mean, from what we could tell, what is it? I forgot the name for a second there. Wisteria might not be like a track where Loso seems to be as much in his element, but pretty much through all the other tracks, everybody has been driving, you know, the same pace and the relatively same speed, with minor differences between the players, and it really comes down to just 0.1, maybe 0.2 of a second, depending on the track itself. So, you know, back on Euphoria, I wouldn't be surprised if we somehow find ourselves in a double finalist situation, despite the fact that Ratchet is right now definitely favored to pick up number 1 spot in the match.
Yeah, but still, Ratchet just needs to finish this round and he'll be entering finalist. And the top 2 players from this match will be going to semifinals, as bottom 2 will get eliminated. Ratchet definitely put himself as a potential contender. He was the player who did manage to get the number 1 seed from the qualifiers. So also one thing that I want to praise a bit Louis a bit, because like all of Heave Loso and Ratchet had been the players who had been a bunch of experience from a bunch of tournaments in Trackmania's history, and him already having that first round experience in right here and having a sick inside line there. He had to actually a bit oversteer there to not hit the poles because he had so much speed right there, but still like challenging all these players like Loso and Ratchet. However, there's a sick duel at the very top currently. Ratchet is leading, going for a bit on outsider line. Way too big of an oversteer from Loso, but Ratchet had to even having bigger oversteer to just reduce the speed to not touch the wall, and that allowed Loso to take the 10 pointers. It didn't matter that much as he enters finalists now by default. She just needs to have that clear run. However, it now gives a very nice advantage, a bit more breathing room to Loso, especially when I have to duel against Heave for that second slot.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been pretty close between Loso and Heave throughout the second and third map, but you can really see Loso starting to get away. 13 points difference right now between him and Heave. Definitely beneficial for him. As we see Ratchet right now in finalist mode and in the lead. And I mean, both Loso and Heave, I mean, just talking about them, quite a ways behind. Really only Lazy Guard, aka Elias Schildwacht, being the one to contend until a crash from Is, and it's really gonna take a crash from Ratchet for him to somehow throw away this first spot and move on to the semifinals, as we do get to the final third turn. This time around, ooh, does hit the wall. Perhaps Loso comes in, but he's just too far behind. If Loso was just I'd say just, you know, like 3/10 a bit closer, then that would have been fine, which, I mean, is still a lot, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, you know, it's a mistake that could have cost him. But fortunately for Ratchet, the other three players also made mistakes of their own, and he comes out of the match first place, moving on to the semi-finals. And we're left with 3 players.
Yeah, now it's all the fight for that second slot. At the moment, Loso is definitely looking as the favorite. Heave on paper being the more experienced and way better player overall within the competitive Trackmania scene. So very nice to see a bit more players from other countries also a bit stepping up and challenging these experienced players. However, Louis is actually the player who leads the field. He was just right behind him. Loso is also there to cash in on a mistake that might happen, so Loso needs to get a top 2 placement in this round. Louis again with that line. He has that line where he actually has so much exit speed and he can't manage to maintain it. Like, he has a good idea going there, but it's like not beneficial as Heave touches. That allows now Loso to go in top 2 places. As long as Loso just doesn't hit the finish, he should enter in finalists, and Louis actually secures plus 10 points that he really needs, especially. He needs to now deny basically Loso for every single round, as Loso is an amazing opportunity now. He just needs to win one more round, and he's gone through. Due to that, Heave and Louis would get eliminated.
Yeah, it's a fight for the 2 players at the bottom. I mean, 83 points, 71 points. Definitely a difference that can be made up, but the only way you can do it, yeah, is just stop Loso from first place every single time right now, though. We see Elias Schildwacht taking the lead. We see Heave also overtaking Loso, as his start isn't as good as the other 2 players right now, but still plenty of space for him to catch up. I wouldn't be surprised. We have seen some inconsistency coming in from both players, not in finalist mode at the moment. But we'll see if they're able to hold on to it right now. All players very close to each other. We don't see that oversteer happening from Elias Schildwacht, though he does go quite wide on the checkpoint right there, and leaves the first place to Heave, and it's up to Heave to hold on and make sure to not allow Loso to come in if he wants to stay in the tournament. And right now, that is exactly what he is doing, picking up 10 points with a 54.4. We're not quite done yet.
Yeah, and he also denies those additional 2 points from Louis. Like, that's such a mental thing, especially from player perspectives. Like, it's like, because it's like so-called wasted points, because when you're a finalist, you don't get anything, you just deny others from points. And the points do stack up as long as Loso gets denied. And that's definitely a thing that he really doesn't, want to see. So he needs that every single point, because every single point puts him closer and closer. And what's going to make it more difficult that is now that Heave is also a top 2 away from reaching finalists himself. So Louis, that just puts more pressure on Louis to just do really good. However, this is a map that we saw the most mistakes out of. As it's due to its linearity, comes with a lot of like, let's just say, the difficulty as well. Because you need to have that strict line basically throughout the map, and that you have to make it consistent out. And Louis basically needs to win 4 rounds in a row, denying both, and especially Heave and especially Loso from taking the wins to potentially have a saying in the rest of the event. A bit some inconsistencies having in the warm-up from Loso, but I myself say it's better to get all the mistakes out in the warm-up, as you don't want to really see during the match itself, so we'll see how this uncover in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it could be over in 1 round. We could have double final. I mean, double finalist looks to be in the cards. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I mean, this hasn't been the strongest map from Loso this match so far. So I think it's definitely a situation where he probably was hoping where he could have finished it off in Euphoria, but instead he's going to have to try doing that on Wisteria instead, as we do go live. Players kicking things off, and Heave with an early mistake. It is all on the lazy guard on Laius Kiltoff, on Louis himself. Will he be able to keep final goodbye from first place, or will he be eliminated right now? Does lose some speed throughout the turn, crashes into the wall, having to respawn, and it is up to Loso to just drive out the map. He just needs to not worry. Heave right now quite a bit behind. He crashes though, and this is what I've been talking about, right? I've been seeing Loso having some issues on this track. Heave now with a crash, allowing Loso to come in, and from mistake to mistake, at the end of the ride, it is going to be Loso who closes out the match. It was looking like he may not have been able to with the crash that he had early on, but instead, he does close it out with a 43.6, 10 points going his way, and with that, we say goodbye to Heave and Laius Kiltoff for the tournament. Thank you for coming and hanging out, but today, you unfortunately were not the fastest. Congrats to Ratchet and Loso for moving on.
So yeah, that's gonna be it for the quarterfinals. Slowly we are also wrapping up the other matches as well. I'm currently checking the results, and from match number 4, Bossbez and Imot. So we have Imot and Imot Jr. in the semi. On each of them is gonna be in each other match. So we're gonna see 2 Imots basically. No, not 2 Imots, but there's gonna be a representative of Imots in each of the matches.
Exactly. The Council of Imots will be showing
exactly.
Up.
It's like the Council of like Charlie's of Moist Critical. Like it's like that new version. It's like Trackmania's version of that.
It's gonna be the Imot universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Movies and everything. It's gonna be amazing, guys. Look forward to it. We'll get. I don't know. Maybe we'll get like Warner. No, we can't get Warner Brothers for that. They're already messing things up. I don't know. Maybe we can somehow get our own movie studio